In a world where every individual is chasing their own dreams, ambitions, and desires, there is an ancient and profound teaching that reminds us of a truth that is often overlooked. A teaching that emphasizes compassion, humility, and the highest form of service. A form of service that transcends the material world. This teaching is not just a mere set of words. It's a call to action, to something greater, to something deeply transformative. This teaching comes from none other than the great spiritual figure, Loknath Brahmachari, a revered saint, a compassionate soul, and a man who saw the divine not in temples or rituals, but in the very act of serving humanity. His life and teachings echo the simple yet profound message that serve humanity, and in doing so, you are serving God. Now, this isn't just a philosophical ideal. It's a way of living. It's about how we interact with the world, how we treat others, and how we view the act of service. Loknath Brahmachari's vision wasn't bound by the traditional idea of worship or religious ritual. For him, humanity itself was a form of the divine. To serve one's fellow human being wasn't just a duty. It was the highest form of spiritual practice. But why did he say this? And what does it truly mean to serve humanity in the eyes of the divine? Let's explore this profound idea together. Imagine for a moment that you're looking into the eyes of someone who is suffering, someone in pain, someone in need of compassion. You feel the urge to help, to reach out, to make their burden a little lighter. But here's the real question. How often do we think of this act of service as something holy? How often do we consider the person we're helping as an embodiment of God? Loknath Brahmachari didn't just preach kindness as an act of goodwill. He saw it as a divine calling. For him, every act of compassion, every gesture of help, was an offering to the Supreme. He taught that serving humanity is not an optional choice, but a core tenet of spiritual life. Think about the world around you. There is so much suffering, so much inequality, and so much pain. People are struggling in ways both big and small, and often they are invisible to us. But what if the divine actually lived in those very people, the ones who seem to need help the most? This is where Loknath Brahmachari's teachings resonate deeply. He didn't separate the divine from the human condition. He believed that service to mankind is not just about charity. It's about recognizing the divinity that exists in every human being. When you serve someone, whether it's with a kind word, a helping hand, or a compassionate heart, you're actually reaching out to God in that person. This brings us to the essence of his teaching. Service is the true worship of God. It's not about grand rituals or fasting. It's about showing up for people when they need you the most. It's about extending a hand without expecting anything in return. It's about giving without any reservations. And in this simple act, you connect to something larger than yourself. You connect to the divine presence that resides in every soul. Let's pause here and think about this idea of selflessness. In a world that often glorifies self-interest and material gain, the idea of serving others without expecting anything in return seems radical. Yet, it is this very idea that was central to Loknath Brahmachari's philosophy. Humility is a cornerstone of his teaching. Service, according to him, was never about showing off or seeking recognition. It was never about being celebrated for your good deeds or being lauded for your generosity. True service is quiet, humble, and done with the heart. It's not about what you do for others, but why you do it and how you do it. Loknath Brahmachari believed that the more we let go of our ego, the more we make room for divine grace. When we serve others, we are not just giving to them. We are also freeing ourselves from the chains of selfishness, pride, and arrogance. True humility comes when we recognize that we are all equal in the eyes of the divine, and no one is superior to another. This idea is radical because it challenges the conventional norms of society. It asks us to look at others not as mere individuals, but as reflections of God. It teaches us that humility is not about self-deprecation. It's about understanding the interconnectedness of all beings. We are all part of the same divine source, and when we serve, we are essentially serving our own divine nature. Now, let's talk about the power of small acts of service. Loknath Brahmachari wasn't asking for grand gestures or monumental deeds. He wasn't calling for people to give away their fortunes or make huge sacrifices. No, his teaching was much simpler than that. It's about the little things, the everyday acts of kindness that often go unnoticed. It's about helping the elderly cross the street, giving food to someone who is hungry, or offering a comforting word to someone in distress. These small actions may seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but according to Loknath Brahmachari, they are the essence of service to God. In fact, Loknath Brahmachari believed that the most powerful service is often the most humble. When you help someone without any expectation of recognition, when you offer kindness just because it's the right thing to do, you are embodying the highest form of worship. You are reaching beyond the material world and touching the divine. Let's consider the ripple effect of a simple act of kindness. Have you ever noticed how one small act of generosity can inspire others to do the same? It's as if kindness is contagious. It spreads. When you help someone, they feel seen, valued, and loved. And in turn, they are more likely to pass on that kindness to someone else. This is the core of Loknath Brahmachari's message, that service to humanity creates a chain reaction, a ripple that extends far beyond the individual. Each act of service, no matter how small, contributes to the collective good. It builds a community of love, care, and compassion. Imagine if every single person saw every other person as an embodiment of the divine, deserving of kindness and respect. Imagine if service became not just an act, but a way of life. The world would be a different place, one of unity, love, and compassion. To understand Loknath Brahmachari's profound philosophy, we must delve into the essence of compassion. Compassion is more than just sympathy. It's the ability to feel another person's pain, to recognize their suffering as your own. It's a deep emotional connection that drives you to act, to offer help, kindness, or even just a listening ear. For Loknath Brahmachari, compassion wasn't something reserved for a select few. It wasn't about being born with a special trait, nor was it about a lofty ideal. Compassion, for him, was an inherent quality of the soul, and every human being was capable of it. But it required an openness, an awareness of the suffering around us, and the willingness to engage with that suffering without hesitation. When we serve with compassion, we aren't just fulfilling a social duty or responding to an obligation. We are transforming ourselves, expanding our hearts to include others. True service, for Loknath Brahmachari, was a manifestation of compassion, living in such a way that we continually recognize the struggles, the needs, and the pain of others and then act to alleviate it. What makes service truly divine is the heart behind it. Loknath Brahmachari emphasized that the act of serving others must come from a place of genuine selflessness. The problem with many acts of service today is that they are often done with an agenda, whether it's to gain social status, to fulfill a sense of duty, or even for recognition. But true service, in the way that Loknath Brahmachari envisioned it, requires a complete absence of ego. It is not about I or me. It's about giving without expectation, acting with pure intent, and seeing others as extensions of yourself. The moment we expect something in return, even a simple acknowledgement, the act of service loses its divine purity. Imagine a world where every act of kindness, every gesture of service, was completely free of personal agendas. A world where people helped simply because it was the right thing to do, because they saw themselves in others. That, according to Loknath Brahmachari, is the ultimate form of worship. In Loknath Brahmachari's view, service to humanity wasn't just an act of kindness, it was a spiritual practice. He believed that when you serve others, you cleanse your own soul, purify your intentions, and align yourself with the divine. The process of selfless service is not just about helping others. It's about transforming your own consciousness and evolving spiritually. He taught that the more we give, the more we receive, not in material terms, but in spiritual growth. Every time we serve, we dissolve a little more of our ego, our attachment to the self, and connect deeper with the divine essence within us. This is why service is considered the highest form of worship. It's the path that leads not just to a better world, but to liberation from the cycle of birth and death, to ultimate union with the divine. True liberation comes when we understand that all beings are part of a greater whole, and when we offer ourselves in service to them, we are essentially offering ourselves to God. Loknath Brahmachari's teachings reflect the profound idea that the path to the divine is not through rituals, but through actions, through selfless, compassionate service to others. Now, the real question is, how do we put Loknath Brahmachari's teaching into action in our daily lives? It's easy to talk about service in abstract terms, but how do we truly embody it? How do we make service a natural part of our lives? Start small. Look around you. Service doesn't have to be grand, nor does it require extraordinary circumstances. It's in the small things. The smile you give to a stranger, the assistance you offer to a colleague, the empathy you show to a friend in need. Every moment presents an opportunity to serve. But also, think about how we can serve beyond our immediate circle. Loknath Brahmachari wasn't just talking about helping those close to us. He was speaking about serving humanity as a whole. Whether it's through volunteering, helping the less fortunate, or contributing to causes that promote justice and equality, service can and should extend beyond personal relationships. You don't need to have immense resources or a platform to serve on a grand scale. What you do with your time, your attention, and your heart is what matters most. A kind word, a helpful gesture, or a selfless act can spark a change far beyond your expectations. So, how did Loknath Brahmachari himself embody this teaching? His life was a testament to his beliefs. He wasn't a figure who simply preached kindness. He lived it every day. His entire existence was dedicated to serving humanity, to alleviating the suffering of those around him. He lived with minimal comforts and focused entirely on the well-being of others. He believed that his mission in life was to help others experience the divine through service. Loknath Brahmachari's legacy lives on through his simple yet profound words and actions. His life serves as a reminder that service isn't something that can be contained in rituals or temples. It's something that must be lived out in our everyday actions. He taught that divinity isn't confined to statues or sacred texts. It's alive and present in every human interaction. The message of Loknath Brahmachari is clear, yet it challenges us to live in a way that is profoundly different from the way we often live today. He teaches us that true spirituality is not about what we receive, but what we give. Service to humanity is the highest form of worship, and in serving others, we are, in fact, serving God. So, the next time you have the opportunity to help someone, don't hesitate. Don't wait for the perfect moment or for recognition. Serve because it is the right thing to do. Serve because, in doing so, you are connecting with the divine within every soul. In the words of Loknath Brahmachari, serve humanity, and you serve God. When we take a deeper look at Loknath Brahmachari's teachings, it becomes clear that his philosophy of service isn't limited to just actions. It's also about the mindset, the attitude that we bring into our interactions with others. The way we approach service, whether it's small or large, makes all the difference in transforming it into a spiritual act. At its core, the act of service requires one thing: awareness. It's about being aware of the world around you, aware of the people who are struggling, and aware of your own capacity to help. Often, we walk through life consumed by our own busy schedules, thoughts, and priorities, leaving little room to recognize the needs of others. But Loknath Brahmachari taught that true service begins with awareness. The first step is to recognize that there are people who need your help and to truly see them. Seeing the suffering of others doesn't mean just feeling sympathy. It means feeling their pain as your own and wanting to act on it. It's about being empathetic, understanding, and compassionate. When we truly see others, we understand that their needs are just as important as our own. And it is in this understanding that we begin to bridge the gap between the self and the other, between ego and divinity. One of the most powerful aspects of Loknath Brahmachari's teachings is that he didn't just view service as an individual act. He saw it as a collective responsibility, something that society as a whole must embrace in order to create a just and compassionate world. When we talk about service, we often think of it as an individual's choice. But Loknath Brahmachari believed that the entire community should come together to serve. Imagine a world where every person is committed to the well-being of others, where society functions not on the principles of competition and self-interest, but on the principles of cooperation and compassion. Such a world, according to Brahmachari, is not a distant dream. It can be a reality if we all begin to take service seriously. When we serve, we're not only helping others, we're strengthening the very fabric of society. We're teaching future generations the value of empathy, the importance of kindness, and the sacredness of human life. One of the greatest obstacles to selfless service is the ego. The ego is what drives us to seek recognition, to act out of self-interest, and to crave acknowledgement for our deeds. And while ego has its place in helping us navigate the material world, it has no place in the spiritual practice of service. Loknath Brahmachari understood that ego is the root of all suffering. It keeps us tied to the illusion of separation and prevents us from seeing the interconnectedness of all beings. To serve selflessly, we must let go of the need for recognition. We must release the urge to attach our identity to the act of helping. This is not easy. In a world that often rewards us for our actions, it can be difficult to act without the expectation of something in return. But Loknath Brahmachari's message is clear. True service is about humility and self-effacement. It's about putting the needs of others before your own desires for validation. By serving without attachment to the results, we not only benefit the person we are helping but also free ourselves from the chains of ego. We reconnect with the divine within, allowing the energy of love and compassion to flow through us naturally. This is the essence of true spirituality. When you help someone, you change their life, but you also inspire them to help others. The kindness you show today becomes a seed that grows into a tree of compassion, which will bear fruit for generations to come. It's a continuous cycle of giving, receiving, and giving again. Moreover, service enriches the one who serves. It teaches us humility, patience, and gratitude. It opens our hearts and minds, making us more attuned to the needs of others. Through service, we become more compassionate, more self-aware, and more connected to the world around us. And this ultimately is what leads to spiritual growth. It's not about the specific actions we take, but the way in which those actions transform us as individuals. We live in a world that is more connected than ever, yet it can feel increasingly disconnected on an emotional and spiritual level. In such a world, practicing service may seem challenging, especially when we're often distracted by technology, work, and personal pursuits. But the truth is, service is needed now more than ever. The modern world is full of people who are struggling in ways that are invisible to us. Loknath Brahmachari taught that our duty is to see beyond the surface, to look deeper, to understand the pain and suffering that others may be experiencing, and to offer our help. In today's fast-paced, digital world, it's easy to become absorbed in our own lives, but we must remind ourselves that there is always someone out there in need. Service in the modern world doesn't necessarily require grand gestures. It can be as simple as offering your time, listening to someone without judgment, or providing comfort in a moment of crisis. It's not about the scale of the service. It's about the sincerity with which you give. Even in a world driven by technology and social media, acts of service are more important than ever. Ultimately, Loknath Brahmachari's teachings challenge us to live with purpose, compassion, and selflessness. They remind us that every moment offers an opportunity to serve, to connect with the divine in others and make the world a better place. Whether through small, everyday acts or larger, more public deeds, service is a powerful tool for transformation. Imagine a life where service becomes the guiding principle, where every action, every thought, and every word is infused with love and care for others. That is the kind of life that Loknath Brahmachari envisioned for us. So, let's reflect. How can we live more in line with this teaching? How can we make service a more integral part of our lives? The answer lies within us. It's a matter of shifting our perspective, opening our hearts, and understanding that the divine resides not just in temples or holy texts, but in the very people we encounter each day. Now is the time to take this message and turn it into action. Let Loknath Brahmachari's teachings guide us as we step into the world with a renewed sense of purpose. Every moment is an opportunity to serve, to act with compassion, and to connect with the divine. In serving others, we serve ourselves. In uplifting others, we elevate our own souls. Loknath Brahmachari has shown us the way. The path of service is the path of truth, love, and spiritual liberation. So, let's not wait for a perfect moment to begin. The time is now. Reach out, help, serve, and embrace the divine presence that resides in every human being. Because when you serve others, you are indeed serving God.